Welcome to one of the many circle sessions hosted by Wonder Girls. Wonder Girls is a nationwide classrooms movement. We bring relatable female role models into classroom settings through our circle sessions. As you will see, the crux of these sessions is its dialogic nature. We're currently working with classrooms across 7 Indian cities and continuing to grow. Our aim is for every adolescent in India to have access to relatable female role models. I welcome you once again and hope you enjoy learning from our role models' life journey and career path.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to be facilitating this session today with you, and I'm looking forward for students interacting with you and almost everybody when they were reading Wonder Girls. I remember in the class they were all very excited and they were all related to everybody's stories in the book. So yeah, so I think I don't have to actually talk about you. I don't have to, but then I was instructed to do it because if I ask any student, I think they will itself introduce you in the room. So, but yeah. So to the students who are here, to everybody. So Priyanka ma'am is she's a lawyer and a professional classical dancer from Bangalore. And she studied her law in Christ University, and she went on to practice 2 years of corporate law, and then she had quit her job and she's become a freelance dancer, teacher, and a choreographer. And she has begun her Bharatanatyam training when she was 5 years old, and she has made her debut performance when she was 9. So, and she performed in various prestigious platforms, both in solo and group formats, and she's traveled to different places along with a dance company called Abhinava Dance Company, and that was a part of her core performing unit. And she worked with many popular dance companies in India as well, and she's won many state awards and accolades to her credit, and has also passed the state conducted dance examination with distinction. So she's also a teacher, and she conducts her personal Bharatanatyam classes and called Nirali. So once again, welcome you, ma'am, for coming and joining with us today. So a little bit about our school itself, a little bit about who the audience are, who the listeners are. So we are all a bunch of energetic students who are across the grades 8 to 10. We are from New Madhu High School, which is basically in Parsigutta in Hyderabad, Secunderabad region. Yeah, so this is how the session is going to progress. The first part of the session, I would be setting up the space because you must have seen that there are 40 questions in the and there are more actually. So I will set up the space which covers almost all the questions, and then we will leave the space for the students to ask questions to you, right? Yeah. So with that, I will stop my screen share. Guys, quick norms. Please always be on mute when ma'am is talking. And if at all I'm tagging you, please unmute yourself and come forward with your question. Try to, if at all you have the bandwidth, try to make sure that your videos are on, because it will be a lively discussion, a lively interaction there, right? Great. So also keep the chat box alive in case of any questions, anything that you would like to tell me. I would definitely take that up, and I will try to ask ma'am the question as well, right? Great. So let's begin without any further delay. So ma'am, I would like to know what was your journey like? What was your story? And right, and what led you to become a classical dancer, and what were some of the values and the mindsets that you've operated with throughout your life to reach the place you are today? Yeah, over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Mansi. Thank you, Varalakshmi, for that wonderful introduction. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm very, very excited to be here. Thank you, first of all, for reading my story and doing this, sharing this experience and this platform with me. I think it's an honor and a huge pleasure to be here. To answer your question, Varalakshmi, very briefly, I think I began very early dancing, and it became such an important part of who I was. And I think that was very critical for me in today pursuing dance. I never saw sort of dance very different from who I was, and it became a part of my identity. It's something I always knew I will do. I knew I will always pursue dancing in some form or shape. So that's one of the key things. It was not separate from me. So the journey has been quite something. I started very early. I was pushed by my parents to do very well in academics as well as dancing. It was not like I could choose one or the other. I had to do both, and they kept pushing me to excel and do my best in everything that I do. And I think that's a key sort of factor for me. As growing up, I was told, and I sort of started to believe that I had to be the best at what I do. And that kept motivating me, going for those 2 extra marks, 5 extra marks, or doing a little better than my last performance. I think that was a very key value where I had to, if I did it, I had to do it to the best of my ability and had to give it my 100%. That's something that kept me going. I picked up law because it just sort of perked my interest. It was interesting that it was so logic driven. It had a lot of criticality. It had a lot of analysis. So I thought, and of course, arguments, and I love talking. So yeah, it had a lot of talking. So that way I sort of picked law. And again, it was never that I could, do law on the side. I had to do both equally well. And again, I sort of went on to multitask law and dance for a bit. And only after like so many years of dancing, I've been dancing for a good 26 years now. And it's only after that that I finally decided that I will do just dancing. And I quit law to pursue dancing full time. So it's been a long journey, a very challenging one, but I think looking back, a very interesting one as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think we also have a couple of people who are, who want to become lawyers in the group. So I'm hoping they'll interact with you soon. So great, guys. I think I will tag one by one all you people who have come up with questions already. So can Mohan start off with your question to ma'am? There were a couple of questions that you wanted to ask.
Yes, Didi, shall I share?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
So my first question is, are there anyone behind your success, ma'am?
There are, I think always, any success is a team effort. I think it's very rare that it would be an individual journey. For me personally, it was a lot of people, but some that I can definitely name was my mom. I think she was a huge support in terms of, she was almost dancing with me, and she almost studied law with me. So, she was always by my side telling me how I should go about it, how I should plan my day and things like that. So she was a huge support. I think my dad was also played a very important role. He was a very silent spectator to my journey. I mean, he wasn't very active per se, but he was my biggest critique. And it's how you take criticism. I think my dad, if I got 99 out of 100, my dad would say, what happened to that 1 mark? Or if I got second place, which is not so bad, he would say, why not first place? And you need that also sometimes to push you to do that little more to achieve your maximum potential. So I think that played that role. I was very fortunate to get some really good dance teachers through my career as a student and as a performer. And the one thing that I feel like I should share with you all is, I think you also, of course, it's very important to have a support system, but it's also equally important to receive support. You have to allow for people to support you. So if your mom's, all the time disciplining you and telling you, do this, don't do this, and your dad's, criticizing, you also have to take it in the right spirit and, take it in the right way and apply it and try your best. So I think there is opportunity and support from everywhere. Like friends are a huge support sometimes, and they can be very encouraging in your journey. But it's also a lot about how it's a two-way process. I think it's also important to take support, allow people to help you be the best version of yourselves. So yeah, I had a lot of people supporting me through my journey.
Okay, ma'am. My another question. Did you face any obstacle in your life?
Um, I think there's not one obstacle, so to speak, that I can remember, but I think every day was a sort of a challenge, in the sense that I had to multitask academics with dancing, and so I'd always have a backlog. I always had to sort of make up, plan my time really well, be very, very work very, very hard. So I think every day would be a challenge, but per se there wasn't like a huge obstacle that stood in my way to dance or to become a lawyer, because I guess I had supportive parents who could sort of push me and provide for me, and so that way I'm privileged. But every day was definitely a challenge. It was difficult to do this, get up every day and do so much. So that, I guess, would count as challenge, not so much an obstacle.
Okay, ma'am. Another question.
Yeah,
Are
Mo.
you satisfied with this opportunity, like dancing in the academy,
Yeah, I mean,
teaching?
looking back, it has been, I mean, there were difficult points, there were challenges. It was, I didn't have, I didn't have the normal childhood that most children have. They would, um, I was doing two very serious things. Academics was serious. I had to be a rank one student and I had to do really, really well at dance. So I guess I looked very different from my friends because I had a slightly different journey and I had different goals and different ambitions. But I think today, when I look back, it's extremely satisfying. It's extremely satisfying because I can be here with you all and talk about this experience. There's so much that I have learned doing this, what I have done for so many years. So today I'm in a very happy place. It took a lot of effort. It took a lot of hard work. It got very difficult. It was very discouraging at times, but I think at the end, if you're doing what you like doing, it's always worth it. I mean, there's, in my experience, it's always worth it. If you're in a space and you have decided something and you go and get that, it's always a satisfying journey.
Okay, ma'am. I'm done.
Thank you, Mohan.
Great. Thank you, ma'am, for that. Can I have Anjali share her questions next?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Anjali.
Hi, Didi. So my first question is, in your career, what is the ma'am in your career? What are the struggles that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
I think struggles. I think one of the main struggles was I um, I had to multitask. I had to sort of do two things very well at the same time, and that's not as easy as it might seem. That I struggled with a bit. There was no room, there was no space. I would get up in the morning, I would practice a little bit of dance, go to school, come back, finish homework, study for tomorrow's test, finish homework, I mean, do whatever else that I need to finish, go to dance class, come back, um, study a little bit and sleep. So I had a full day, and I think living that day, living that life every day of your life for so many years is um, is something that I genuinely struggled with. Even in college, you'd see, I'd see my friends who'd go to movies, who'd go like out and chill. But I did I went from one thing to the next: college, dance class, rehearsal, come back home, study, next day college. So I guess that is a bit of a struggle, because you're trying to do very well at two things. Um, yeah, so I think that's something that I struggle with. The good thing was I enjoyed doing both those things. I really liked doing law, and I really liked dancing. So when I was doing it, it didn't feel like, I'm finding it really hard to do. But I know that that was not as easy as it might sound. Yeah, that was a struggle.
Then my second question is like when you were dancing, what is the one thing that made you think that I need to become a dancer?
So I think I think the decision to become something is a slow process, in my experience. I started dancing, to be honest, because my mother was really interested in dancing. She always wanted to become a dancer. So she started me very early in dancing. Actually, I went to a teacher when I was 4 years old, and my teacher asked me, show me which is your right hand and which is your left hand. And I didn't know, I couldn't, I was that young. So then my mother didn't give up, and she went back again when I was 5, and she said, now start dancing. So I think I just started because mom pushed me into it. Mom just said, go ahead, dance. I started to like dancing, I think also because I became good at it. I worked very hard, and then I had a lot of people tell me that you're a good dancer. And you like that, right? You like it when people tell you that you're good at something. So I started to work even harder because I got motivated that, oh, I can do this, I can dance. So that happened, and it took very, very long before I decided for myself that this is it. Where I said that um, this is all I want to do. And it was, I think, one performance that I was doing. And it was a very long performance for about 2.5 hours. And I don't remember spending 2.5 hours at all. I was lost in performance. And that's when I came off stage and I said, oh, I really like this, because I lose myself in it. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like I'm in the right place. It feels right. So I think those kind of experiences, 2-3 of those kind of performances told me that, no, I want to do this for the rest of my life. But, pursuing a passion, I think, is not something you wake up one day and say, dance. I don't think that's how it happens. I think it happens over a period of time. It happens with a lot of thinking and questioning yourself and asking, do I like this? Do I enjoy this? And it's only after a period of time that you say, yeah, I think dance, I want to do this. Yeah.
The next question is what are the values that you followed while continuing this career with?
Okay. I think one of the most important things for me was that I was a constant learner. I don't know if that's a value per se, but that's definitely something that I practiced very seriously. That I would learn from everybody, whether it's a friend, whether it's a junior, whether it's a senior, whether it's a teacher, whether it's mom, dad, brother. I don't know how I became that person, but I know that that has benefited me a lot in becoming who I am today. I would look at anything and say, what can I learn from this? I would speak to a friend of mine, have a conversation, and then go back and think about what did I learn from that. I think the ability to observe and learn from everything around you is very, very important. It's a way of life. It's basically how you look at something and say, nobody is less than me. I'm not better than everybody else. I'm only as good as everybody else, and therefore I can learn from anybody and everybody. I think that was a very important trait that I developed, and I know that was very useful for me. The other thing was just hard work. I have not known any other way to sort of be than to be hardworking, because that was fully in my control. Like I could fully. It was only up to me how much effort I put, and I could give it my all. So hard work, definitely, and constantly learning from people. Those two things I think were very critical in shaping my career.
Didi, last question. Like, this decision is took by you, or like someone pushed you to take this decision?
Okay. Like I said, I think initially when I started out dancing, it was my mom. Um, then I picked law on my own. I think I was in 8th standard when I said I'll be a lawyer. I really didn't have any basis. I didn't know any lawyers around me. My dad was a chartered accountant. My mom worked in a bank. I just didn't want to be my mom or my dad. I wanted to do something else. So I said, okay, I read up a little bit about what lawyers do, and is that interesting? And it sounded interesting, and I just picked law when I was in 8th. So yeah, law was definitely my decision. Dancing, to pursue dancing full-time was my decision. It didn't start like that, but to pursue it as a full-time career, that I will teach, that I will be a performer, I will choreograph, those were decisions I took after 20 years of dancing. And those were my decisions. Yes.
Thank you, Didi.
Thank you, Anjali.
Thank you. Can Romika go next?
Okay, Didi. Hi, ma'am. I'm Romika. Your story is so inspiring to me because I love dance. Can I know what made you get interested in dance? Because at the age of 4, when your teacher made you stood outside, you told that I will never dance again.
So I had that experience because I saw everyone around me doing really well, and I was not really good at when I started out. Why I got interested is, I think I took it up as a challenge. It was difficult. This hand coordination, eye coordination, body coordination. It's not so easy. And then I said, I'll take it up as a challenge. I'll do this. So I think I started off with challenging myself and said, why can't I do it? Everybody around me is doing it. Why shouldn't I be able to do it? And it started with that. And once I started to work hard, I think hard work is very important to like something also. It's really important that you work at it, give it your best, and then only you should ask whether you like something or not. Most cases, at least in my experience, that's what happened. So I worked hard, I took it up as a challenge, and then I started to see that I'm getting good at it, so I started to like it. The other reason why I like dancing is also, like I said, in one of those performances, I lose myself. I forget a sense of time. I forget who's watching. I forget space. So that dance allows me to do. It helps me sort of forget the world around me. And you also try and think about what is that one thing that helps you lose. Sometimes you're reading a book and you get so lost. Those are indicators saying, oh, you really like this. This might be your thing. So I recognized dance and I got interested when I saw that I was completely losing myself. The other, I think, important thing is dance became a way to express myself. It's like talking, but not really talking with your mouth. It's another language. Dance can be another language through which you express yourself. And when I was able to do that, when I, after 20 years, when I practiced, and I had learned enough and I was able to do this on my own, it was like English or Kannada or Hindi, dance. It became a language through which I talk. So, and I think it's at that point that I said, I got really interested and I said, okay, I'm doing this.
Okay, ma'am. My next question was, what are some of the things that you learned in dance?
Some of the things that I learned in dance is in, the items and what pieces I did. I think I've learned a lot in 20 years. I think if anybody does anything for 20 years, you learn a lot. But maybe it's interesting to talk about what dance taught me as a whole. I think one of the things that dance taught me is I can be whoever I want. How in dance sometimes we become a tree, sometimes we become a bird, sometimes we become. I play the role of a boy, I play the role of a small child, I play the role of a mother. So in classical dance, you role play a lot. You become many characters. You say a lot of stories. So I think one of the main things that dance kept telling me as I practiced is I can be whoever I want. It's just about practice. It's just about getting involved, getting into character, and I can be a mouse. I can be an elephant. I can be anybody I want. And I think that's something that I really like about dancing. Of course, it's not easy, but that's one critical thing that dance taught me. It taught me that I can be who I want. It taught me how to talk, how to express myself in another language. So these two things I think dance taught me. What I learned in dance will go into technical specifics, and it's a long list. So yeah.
Okay, ma'am. My next question: how did you got an idea of changing Rama Sita roles in Ramayana?
How did I get that? I think one of the, like I said, dance allows you to role play. So when I put myself in the shoes of Sita, and I said, if I was married to Rama, how would I be? And if I was Rama, how would I feel if I had left my wife in the forest for so many years? So the idea to change the way these people are usually shown in performances came from putting myself in those roles. I became Rama, and I thought if I was Rama, I was a king and I'd left my wife in the forest, what would I do? I would be really sad. I would be very unhappy. I would be lonely. And if I was Sita, I would be really angry with my husband. And it just felt normal for me. So I put myself in those characters' shoes and said, so now what? And that's what sort of triggered or shifted the way I showed these characters.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, I love dance a lot. I always think classical dance is not so easy to learn than Western. What do you think? Classical dance is easy than Western?
Okay, for me, classical dance is easy. But that's because I've done it for too long. I think Western dance also has its challenges. To move your body and to, pop and lock and all those techniques are equally difficult. But in my experience, what I've seen is if you've done classical dancing, you have the aptitude to learn different forms of dance. Once you've learned classical, you can do Western, maybe not very well, but you can do Western, you can do folk, you can do all other forms of dance. So classical dance, that way, equips you, makes you capable of doing any other form of body exercise or dance. To short answer, yes, it is a little more difficult than Western. I think it requires a lot of years of training. Unlike Western, you could do Western dance for about six months to 1 year and get a good hang of it. You could do a performance, but it definitely takes about minimum 4 to 5 years in classical dance to be able to perform. So I guess, yeah, you're right. I think classical dance is more challenging, but that's the fun, right? If it was easy, it wouldn't be fun. Yeah, I think classical dance is a little more challenging than Western, but it's not that Western dance is not difficult. Today, if you ask me, Western dance is much harder than classical for me. So, yeah.
Okay, ma'am. My last question: how did you balance dance and law at the same time?
So, yeah, when I write about my story, yes, it looks like I balanced. But if, I go back then and, really, when I was doing both law and dance, I don't know if I balanced it too well, because I had my teacher always complaining, you should be here for rehearsal for more hours, you should do more in dancing, you should stop doing law, you should just do dance, because I was really good at it. And my law professors and later my employers, when I was working, kept telling me that you're so good at law, so you should just do law, why are you doing dance, and why are you so distracted? So I managed, but I was constantly only trying to manage. It wasn't like a smooth affair. It was not like one formula and said, okay, this is how I'm going to go about it, and I just did this. It was an everyday struggle. I had to be very, very planned. I had to be very meticulous. I had to be, first of all, okay that my life looked different from other people's lives. Like they would do law, and after college or after work, they would go home, read a book. I had to go to rehearsal, and I had to be okay with that. So that's actually much harder than actually doing the work, being okay with your life looking very different from other people's lives. uh, so that was very important for me to accept that my life will always be different. I will have different set of rules for myself. The other thing is, it's an everyday struggle. You cope with it. You keep getting complaints from all directions, and you say, okay, but I will get up tomorrow morning and I will try again. And that attitude is really important to be able to balance. Extremely well planned time management is critical, and there's no substitute for hard work.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for answering my questions. I have enjoyed a lot interacting with you.
Thank you, Romika.
Maidili, could you go ahead with your question?
Hi, ma'am. I'm Maidli.
Hi.
So, what are the advices that you suggest us to get into a successful career?
Okay. Okay. From my experience, I think first of all, it's very important to define what is success for you. Um, Success could mean many things. Success could be being rich. That could be your idea of success. Success could be getting 100 out of 100 in something that you're studying. Success could also be, I'm not getting 100 out of 100, but I know my subject. I know every single concept that was taught to me, and I know it really well. I might not get 100 of 100, but I know what I'm studying. It could also be that, so that basically what I'm trying to say is, I think it's important to define what your success is. What is it that you want to succeed at? To first, then direct yourself towards that. So defining your idea of success is really important. I think it's important to be also very, okay, to basically believe that you can be who you want to be. I think that's not something that comes very easily. It was difficult for me also, but I had to tell myself every day that I can be the best. I believe that I can do what I want to do. And I think belief is very important, that you need to sort of have on a daily basis. And once you have that,
Can you still hear her?
No, I can't. I think
Um,
a screen freezed. So yeah.
let's give her a minute, otherwise I'll call her.
Yeah.
I hope the students are enjoying it. Are you liking it?
Yes, Didi, yes.
Didi.
I'm glad. I think I'll just give her a call on. Give her a minute, she's figuring.
Also wanted to announce, guys, please don't go after the session. Wait on the call itself. You guys have to fill in a quick survey, right? Yeah, she's joining. She's here.
Hi, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what happened actually.
It's all right. We can go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Maithili, would you like to ask your question once again?
Yeah, yes. Once again,
The question that you have left in between,
another.
second one. Yeah. Ask the
Okay.
second.
Ma'am, you had changed schools very often. You would being changing from one place to another, right? So when you meet new friends and new teachers, would they have talked to you like the same way previous one had? You are they friendly with you?
I think that's a normal issue that I think children who change schools face. I changed a number of schools, and it took me a while. Every time it took me some time to sort of make new friends, um, get teachers to like me, and by then sometimes I left and went to another school. So, but it was not so important for me personally. It is important to have friends. It is very important to have teachers be nice to you. Familiarity is very important, but it wasn't very important for me because I had to focus on other things. I made the best out of what I could. I had friends for 6 months. I had good time with them, and then next school. So that's what I think I did. It didn't bother me too much.
Ma'am, the next question is like you couldn't enjoy like how others enjoyed, right? So what have you felt when you saw in front of them? They are enjoying in front of you, and you couldn't enjoy only the ways learning dance and law.
Yeah. Like I said, that's not as easy. Sometimes when I look back, I feel like, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. But I know that it's worth it. Like I said, I fortunately am doing what I like doing. So today it feels like it was worth it because it's only because I put so much effort and I spent so much time with both dance and law that I'm here today. So in many ways, that journey, though difficult, though not like other people's journey, has made me who I am today, and I'm in a happy place today. So I guess that was a price to pay, and I think it's very important for all of us to learn that to do something that you love doing, to do that one thing that you love doing, there will be smaller things that you don't like doing. Everything is not rosy, you're not going to love everything about everything you do. If I want to teach dancing, there are going to be small things that I'll have to do, like take attendance, which I don't like doing, but I will do it because I like teaching, so there's always going to be something, smaller things that you'll have to compromise on and let go and say, my idea of success is that I have to do dance and law. So as long as I'm working towards that and I'm having a good time with that, it's okay. It doesn't always feel good, but you have to tell yourself it's fine. I'm doing something else, and that's how you live that.
Okay, ma'am. My next question is that you had left the dance in middle, right? So after getting into the dance again, how had you felt?
Yeah, so that's that was a very a teaching experience for me because I was on the top of my game when I was doing dance, and I dropped it because I was doing law, and then this coming back is way harder. It's easier to keep doing what you're good at, but to take a break and then come back after a couple of years, all your friends, all your colleagues who are dancing with you have gone so much ahead, and you feel so bad saying, oh, they were with me and now they're so much ahead of me, they're dancing so much, they're looking so good. And that's, that's very demotivating, that's very discouraging at times. Also, you're out of practice, and it's so difficult somehow to do something that you love doing, and that's not nice, right? You really like doing something, but it's become so difficult now because you've been on a break. So coming back is a very, very difficult journey. That when I stopped dancing, I had become very fat. I had lost a lot of stamina, and it took me a good 1 year to get back to where I was. And that 1 year was a struggle. I would come back home after rehearsal and I would cry. I would cry to myself and say, how did I let this happen? How could this be where I am today? And I used to look at everybody else and feel like, oh my God, the world's gone ahead. So it's a very, very heartbreaking phase. So avoid that phase if you can. Be consistent. If you know you like doing something and you've started it, don't drop. Don't do. I think it was, I learned from it, but I think it would have been better if I stayed on that journey. Coming back is usually harder. You can always come back. You can start dancing again after 10 years. That's fine. You can start doing law after 10 years. If you really like it, I think you can do it. But that's 3 times harder. So my suggestion, don't take that break.
Okay, ma'am. So when you wanted to go into the bigger school, they had tested you to write in Hindi, but you don't know, right? So you had wrote it in English. How had you thought like?
How I had thought. I didn't think. That's why I wrote a Hindi exam in English. Because my mom had told me one thing very clearly: never leave an answer blank. That's all. I mean, whether you know the answer, you don't leave something blank. You always attempt. So that was the only thing in my mind. Of course, it was a Hindi entrance exam, and I think in Delhi you learn Hindi very soon, and I didn't know the alphabets. Obviously, I couldn't, like, for the entrance exam, I had just learned alphabets and gone, I don't even know to make words. So, but I knew that I couldn't leave an answer blank, and that worked for me because the principal called me back and said, this is so weird. Why would you do that? Like, it's an Hindi exam, but you've written your answers in English. And that's actually why I got admission. So sometimes it works for you. It worked for me. It's very funny now that I think of it. It's really funny. I didn't think. I just did what I knew, that I shouldn't leave an answer blank. I have to attempt all questions. So I wrote it in the language that I knew.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Maithili.
Sunil, would you go next?
Yes, Didi, sure. Hello, ma'am. My name is Sunil, and the question I want to ask you is that throughout the journey, like you are a classical dancer, and throughout the journey, who is the one person or two who inspired you?
I think I don't have 1 or 2 people who inspired me. I think multiple people constantly inspired and motivated me. Like I said, I think my journey was unique. I didn't know another person who was doing law and dance. So it's very hard to find one person who's doing both and say, I'll follow that path. That person has done this, so I will do this. So I didn't have that role model. So like I said earlier, I had to learn from everybody. Every opportunity I got to learn, every conversation I had, every friend, every teacher, and jointly they were all inspirational. Because like I said, my journey was a slightly different one from most other people. I didn't have one role model or one inspiring person. But I made all of them into one group and said, okay, this is why I'll keep going. And that happens sometimes, because if you're doing something that's not normal or that's not what everybody else is doing, sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to draw inspiration from wherever you can get it. You may not have 1 or 2 people specifically who will be inspiring in your life.
Okay, that was satisfying. But my next question is like this time period, like now this is 21st century and everyone likes, like this is my personal observation, that everyone like pop music or rap music, and so everyone like Western culture as dance. But how tough was it for you to bring out classical dance so well?
It's difficult. Believe it or not, I think classical dance has an audience for itself. There are some people who come to watch just classical and who like just classical. So I have that benefit that somehow, because classical dance is so age old, you know, it has been happening for so many years, there is a set audience that already classical dance has. So that's already there. That's my safe space. I can always dance for them. But to be able to appeal to audiences of today, younger generations, to be able to reach to them, especially when, you know, everybody's thinking of, like you said, the changing culture, is particularly difficult for classical dance. It's a very old form and it is very strict about its rules. You know, this is the only way to do it, and this is the only thing that you can do. These are the only songs you can dance to. This is the only characters you can portray. So they're very fixed. But like I said, I think I enjoy challenges. I think that's what makes Bharatanatyam especially interesting, because it's difficult. It's difficult to make it relevant for, say, all of you and audiences of today who are so exposed to so many new foreign things. And that's really why I'm in it. I'm in it because it's not easy. I like challenges. So I guess it is difficult and I'm in it for that.
Yes, when Varalakshmi Didi firstly told us that you are coming, so the first question which came to my mind that I would ask you, like, what was the funniest incident, Didi, in your throughout the classical dance of your journey on the stage? Like, funniest incident, like if you still remember it, you start smiling.
Yeah, okay. I had, okay, I'll tell you this one. This one was when I think this was one of my first really small, like, you know, dance class. If you go to a dance class, you'll have a dance school performance every year as an anniversary, like how you have school day or annual day, you have like an annual day for dance class as well. So this was part of that. I had like I was going on stage for like 3 minutes. It was a long show, 2 hours show, where I had a role for 3 minutes. And I still remember it. And it's so funny that I went on stage and I was fully dressed. I was really small. I would have been 5 or 5.5 years old. And I was fully dressed. Everything was really heavy because you might have seen Bharatanatyam dance requires a lot of jewelry and dressing up and makeup and all of that. And I was fully decked up and I went on stage and I started to dance with, it was a group dance. So I started to dance and then this photographer came really close. I was standing in front because I was short. And this photographer came really close to the stage and he started clicking my pictures, like just me, like a close-up. I stopped dancing and I posed for him. That's all. I thought that's it. He's taking my picture, so I have to pose. And the dance is going on, the music is going on, everybody else is dancing, but I stopped to pose for the photographer, and I didn't start dancing till he left, till he went and moved to the next person or went to start taking other pictures. So this was funny. This is how my journey really began. You know, the photo was more important than the dance. So yeah, this is one of the funny things that has happened.
Thank you, Didi. Thank you, Didi. That was it from my side.
Thank you, Sunil.
Can Pujita go next?
Yes. Hello, ma'am. I'm Pujita.
Hi.
So, my first question is: was there any distraction for your dance classes in your childhood? If yes, what was it?
Distraction, not particularly. I trained myself to be focused, to really, when I'm dancing, I'm dancing, and when I'm studying, I'm studying. But the one thing that helped was because I was doing two things. One was break from the other, you know. So when I'm studying and I want a break, I'll go dance, and that worked because I like dancing. And when, you know, I was, you know, after finishing dance class or, you know, dancing for a while, it was always fun to come back to studying because it was something else. So it wasn't really distraction, but it helped me. It sort of complemented, and that's one of the biggest advantages of doing two things. Studying along with that, doing something else very seriously, because one helps the other in many ways. So you never feel bored. You never feel like you've studied for 4 hours. Whenever you've studied for 4 hours, you'll go dance for a while and you can come back. And you're again, you know, fresh to start studying again. And the same way for dance as well. So they weren't distractions. They actually helped me do better at both things because they gave me a break from each other.
Okay. My second question is, at any point of time, did you feel that classical dance was a pressure from my parents?
Classical dance was a pressure from my parents. No, I didn't feel that. Though maybe that's true. Like I said, I think I started with my mom telling me that I should dance, and generally from the family that I come from, classical dance, if a girl learns classical dance, it's a good thing. So yeah, it perhaps came from family, you're right. It started off like that. But did I feel the pressure to continue dancing because of family? Not really. Because I also started to enjoy dancing a lot. I started to work hard on my own. I think that initial push you may need from family, and I think that's good if you take it, because you also should try whether you like it or not. And for that, that initial push helps. But no, not in my experience did I feel the pressure to continue dancing because of them. Yeah, mom and dad always told me that you have to do both. Like for instance, when I was in 10th standard, I usually people take a break from whatever hobby you're pursuing, right? Because it's board exam and you have to concentrate on studies. So instead, what my mother and dad did is I had to go to maths tuition and Sanskrit tuition, and that was a little far away from home. And my dance class was also far away from home. So, Sanskrit tuition's here and dance class is here. And I used to live here, so it's far from both. So what my parents did in 10th standard is, because I had to do both. So this was pressure, I think, where they said, I will move houses. For that 1 year, when I had to write my board exam, my parents moved to a house in this locality, so that it's near both dance class and tuition, and I could study without quitting dance for that 1 year. So I really took a break from dancing only for that 1 month of preparatory before the 10th standard exam. But that way my parents really pushed me. It didn't feel pressure because I liked doing both. I liked getting first rank and I liked dancing. It didn't feel like I was pressurized, but I was always pushed. And we even shifted houses so that I could do both. If that answers your question.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for answering.
Thank you.
Yeah, can Akila go next? Thank you, Pujita.
Hi, ma'am. My name is Akila. How had you choose the both lawyer and the classical dancer?
Yeah, like I said before, law is something I just thought I'll do because I didn't see any lawyers around me and I wanted to be someone different. So I picked that for myself, and fortunately for me, I liked it as well. I picked dance, like I said, my mom picked dance for me, and I chose dance much later when I became good at it and when I really started to enjoy performing.
My next question is, when your father has got many transfers, you moved to many places. Do any effect have fallen on your dance?
Not really, but that's again, I got lucky with that. Generally, when you move and you change teachers, it's hard to find a good teacher, especially in classical dance. But I was lucky. When I was in Delhi, I had one teacher and I stayed with her. And then when I came to Bangalore, I found one teacher. And that was very important, by the way. My mom and me went hunting for a dance teacher before we started looking for schools in Bangalore when I moved to Bangalore. So it was, collectively a very important thing to find a good teacher. But it didn't disturb my dancing career. When I moved from Bombay to Delhi, I had danced for 2 years, but I had to restart dancing. So I started at 5, and when I moved to Delhi at 7, I restarted my career again at 7, because 5 to 7 almost didn't count. And 7 to 9, 2-3 years when I was in Delhi, I danced, I did performing, etc. When I came to Bangalore, the style here was very different. In Bangalore, it was not the same way I was dancing in Delhi. So I had to relearn. I had to learn new things. What I had already learned helped, but it was, in that sense, it was there was a little bit of a hiccup, but it wasn't that it sort of became an obstacle in my career, fortunately.
My last question, how have you felt learning from many teachers?
I think, like I said before, I think there's a lot to learn from everybody, not just teachers. Again, I was very lucky to have good teachers who were very, very interested in me. Fortunately, both teachers that I had, all three teachers that I had, took a special interest in me, because I also gave, I also reciprocated, I worked very hard. And whenever you work hard and when the teacher can see that, the teacher is also putting an extra effort to make sure, you get pushed a little. So I had that kind of a teacher-student relationship where my teacher was always more strict with me. She wouldn't correct everybody else in class. She would not complain, but she would always be very strict with me. She would push me more. It used to feel bad, but I know that was good for me, because I needed that. She saw that I could. She knew that I would work hard if she corrected me. So it worked out. Learning from different teachers is very, very important. It's important that you go out and also try different teachers. Like today, when I teach, I encourage my students to go and learn from other teachers as well. Go learn from them, workshop with them for 1 month, come back. I think exposure to different teachers and different teaching methods can be very useful if you're taking it in the right way.
I'd just like to
Thank
come
you.
in 2 minutes left.
Yeah. I think that is what even I wanted to say. So we will end with one more question, which came up very often on the chat box. Right? How did you go about identifying your strengths and weaknesses, and how did you overcome your strengths throughout your journey? So we'll end with this, and yeah, over to you.
I think that's a very difficult question, actually, and every time I try to answer that, I'm okay, but I'll give it a shot. So I think one of the biggest weaknesses that I've experienced in my life was I trusted people very easily. One of the things that comes with learning from everybody is also believing that whatever they're saying is true. It sort of works both ways, right? So if you're open, you're also open to everything. And I trust people very easily. It's very hard for me to say no to somebody. So some of these, I think, were my weakness. They were strengths in different situations, but I think that did not work for me all the time. Sometimes being open to learning, being open and saying I can learn from everybody and being friends with everybody can also work the other way around. So I think that happened for me. I trusted people very easily and I got taken advantage of. It was very difficult for me to say no to people, whether it was for a performance or whether it was to work extra hours or whether it was to do extra assignments for my friends. It was very hard to say no, and I got taken advantage of a little easily. I think would be one of my weaknesses. It's also a strength, and I think that's important for you all to think about. I think every strength also has another side to it. It can also become your weakness sometimes. So it depends on the situation and depends on how you're handling yourself, I think. So that, I think, would be a weakness. A strength that I think some of the strengths that I had is I'm someone who is very, very difficult to demotivate. It's hard to sort of demotivate me. I won't take, if somebody says you can't do it, that never usually demotivates me. I usually take that as a challenge and say, I'll show you. So I think that's a huge strength. I mean, so it's hard to, I think a lot of people find it hard to stay motivated, but for me, it's the opposite. I'm always almost motivated, so I work constantly. So that, I think, is a strength. I think I have a huge capacity to work hard, and I cannot emphasize more how working hard is so important for everybody, every stream of life, whatever you're doing. If you're not working hard, I don't know. I don't know any other way to do that. So yeah, and this ability to constantly learn and observe from people around you. I think those would be strengths that have helped, I think, in hindsight, to become who I am today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was lovely listening to you. It was lovely to hear many people, to hear you answer all the questions that students had. I'm sure they're all very excited. I'm sure we're all going to have a great, session afterwards discussing about, our key takeaways from this session. Yeah, thank you once again for being with us. I really enjoyed facilitating this space today. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. Honestly, like this really, really inspired me. Just like knowing that you juggled two things and did so well. And I think the most important takeaway for me was to allow people to support and criticize you and take it in the right spirit. And I think that also comes from wanting to learn from every experience and from everyone.
Yeah.
So much for that.
Thank you, Mansi. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Really, a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Varalakshmi. It was great to do this for the students. I hope they learned a lot.
Yes, we did. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll put the survey in the chat box now. Yeah. Oh, it's actually gone just to you, Varalakshmi, privately.
Guys, open the link on the chat box and just take the survey before leaving the call.
And please wish Priyanka ma'am thank you.
Yeah, now that I mean,
Yeah,
I've
you
not...
can unmute yourselves. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
The settings were different before. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, Priyanka ma'am. It was very, very inspiring talking with you.
Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you, Didi, both of you.
Thank you, Didi.
Thank you.
Thank you, mom, so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for interacting with us.
Thank you for interacting with us.
Thank you, Didi. Thank you, Mansi Didi.
Thank you, Didi, for
Thank
sharing
you,
your
ma'am, for
experience.
interacting with us.
It was very
Thank you, Didi, for getting
Thank you,
Priyanka,
Didi.
madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Didi.
Thank you for sharing your journey, Didi.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
First, Didi, thank you for coming to
For
our
telling your experience, Didi.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.